From the East Texas Sports Network studios, powered by Texas Dairy Queen, a tradition of excellence, the ETSN podcast, where Clint Buckley and Mike Graham offer their, well, they just talk. But who really cares? It's what they do best. It's the lowdown on everything high school football in East Texas. And now, Clint Buckley and Mike Graham.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Week 8 edition of the ETSN.fm podcast. I'm Clint Buckley, and I'm joined, as always, by Mike Graham. How's it going, Mike?
Doing good.
Well, we got 4 weeks left in the regular season. That's crazy. Just 4 weeks left. A lot of things still at stake. I feel like we learned quite a bit after last week. It was the first full week of district action for East Texas. We learned a lot of things about some teams that we had some notions about going into district play, and we got some big matchups going on this Friday.
Yeah, I like to call it Separation Friday. This one's going to be a big one. There are a lot of great matches across the region, and I'm really excited to dive into the ones we've got here today.
And I guess we'll start off with you could make a case that this is the biggest game in the area. There are cases that can be made for several games, but we'll start off with the big battle in District 16 5A, John Tyler and Ennis, a battle of two state-ranked teams in Class 5A. You've seen Ennis. What can we expect from them this week?
Well, like the song, when you go there, expect a lot of classic rock. They love to play that, and they create a great environment, kind of a pro-styled environment with the music they play. They've got great fans, and on the field, they've got a team offensively that can do it all. They can run, they can throw on you. A lot of weapons. They've got James Lockhart at defensive end. Just a ton of ways to kill a team, and I think that John Tyler is in for a big test on Friday night.
Once again, it's a battle for sole possession of first place in 16-5A. The only two undefeated teams ranked remaining in that district, both at 3-0. John Tyler checks in at number 5 in the state poll. Ennis is number 10. Ennis has a couple of losses, but they're quality losses.
Yeah, they're good losses against some of the Metroplex's most big-name teams.
Yeah, you got Timberview from Mansfield. That was their season opening loss, so I think it was 34-21. And then the next week, they played Denton Geyer, who is a 5A power, or 6A power now. Lost to them 45-42. So
yeah, they let that one slip away.
Game could have gone either way, and Ennis looks good this first 3 weeks in district. So is John Tyler. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think the big key in this one, and we talked about it last week when John Tyler and Lufkin were about to play, is how well John Tyler's rush defense performs, because that was a big key last week. They really held a quality running back in Steven Sowell down last week. Held him to 31 yards on 19 carries, and this is a guy that came in with over 100 yards rushing in all 5 of his previous games. So it's going to be another key, because even though Ennis is very well rounded on offense, they can hurt teams through the air. I still feel like they're bread and butters with their running game, and they've got a really good combo with Taylor Thompson and Trey Elliott. Thompson's more of the slasher type, I believe. He's the smaller of the two backs, maybe the quicker of the two. Mm-hmm. And then Trey Elliott's the 200-pound bruiser.
They're just the workhorse,
right? So John Tyler's going to have their work cut out for him. But I think if they can slow Ennis enough down. If they can slow Ennis down enough running the football, I think they'll be in good shape defense-wise. Because if you look at just the nature of John Tyler, they are a complete football team. They have a really good offense led by their quarterback Gio McAllister. Jeremy Wilson has emerged as one of the biggest weapons in East Texas on the ground at running back. He's just had a great run these last few weeks. If you look at the receiving core led by Rodney Bendy, the UNT commit, Nick Kane, the ULM commit, Dontavian Gross, Bryson Smith, a lot of weapons in the passing game for John Tyler. And then you look at the defense, what they've been able to do, holding Lufkin to 100 yards rushing last week. The fact that they have 7 defensive touchdowns on the season. They hurt teams in special teams too. They blocked a punt last week. That was their 3rd blocked punt in the last 2 games. They've scored 9 non-offensive touchdowns so far this year. So they're a team that can beat you in a variety of ways. And I think if they can limit Ennis offensively on the ground, I think that works to their advantage, because you look at their secondary, full of playmakers. You got Ike Warren and DeAndre Williams at the cornerback spots. And at safety, you have Bryson Gibson, who has 3 defensive touchdowns, and then you have Jordan Owens, who has a couple interceptions. So John Tyler is a very sound unit defensively, and I think this is going to be their biggest challenge of the year so far, going up against Ennis.
No doubt, and worth mentioning, Ennis has already played 2 high-profile East Texas teams. They dismantled Longview in a scrimmage, and then got the best of Nacogdoches.
Nacogdoches has only lost to date.
Yeah.
So, and then another common opponent they share is White House.
Yeah.
John Tyler with a 52-17 win in the district opener. Then last week, Ennis taking care of them 29-14 on the road. So, should be a lot of fun. The kick is at 7:30 Friday night at Lyon Memorial Stadium in Ennis. Now on to another matchup in 5A featuring unbeatens in district, Longview and Texas High. This is one of the games we had circled before the season. It's kind of a game we figured would decide the district title, and it looks like that's going to be the case again this year.
No doubt, it's a high profile game, probably right in there with John Tyler Ennis, and obviously a lot of playoff implications at stake. I'm excited to see how this one goes down. You've got Longview, which seems to have finally gotten into its rhythm. I don't think they're going to be easy to slow down. And then Texas High has competed well in all their games. Obviously, the 10-point margin of win against Pine Tree was irate.
Kind of a head scratcher.
But I think that Pine Tree is probably better than their 0-6 record indicates. They've got some decent players.
And you knew they would continually get better each week. Each week with their new head coach David Collins, you figured that the learning curve would get a little bit smaller as the weeks progressed. But you mentioned Longview and their role right now. I mean, geez, you and I both kind of thought that last week's game against Marshall would be semi-competitive, maybe not decided until late in the second half. God, we were wrong. We were dead wrong. 56-13. Tylen Miller had 4 combined touchdowns. And Longview's on a roll right now. And, we referenced this last week on the show. The loser of the John Tyler Lufkin game was going to get a much improved Longview team in the first round of the playoffs, most likely. And we kind of can flip the tables on this a little bit and talk about the loser of this game having to probably face John Tyler in the first round of the playoffs because the Longview and Texas High are the 2 biggest schools in that district, just like JT and Lufkin are in 16-5A. So the loser here is going to have to go up against the number 1 seed from Division I, which right now looks like John Tyler. They have a 3-game lead on Lufkin in the standings, and they've beaten them head-to-head. So a lot riding on this game. And I think, we look at a key matchup here, and I guess every time you got to talk about Longview, you talk about the running game. And if you can stop or slow down their running game, you have a chance. And Texas High's run defense has been pretty good this year. So that's something to look at in this game because you got William Brown, KJ Reed, anchoring that front 7 for Texas High. Longview's done a great job on offense, not just running the football of late, but they've made some big plays in the passing game here lately as well. So a lot at stake. Texas High will be at home. They're not an easy team to beat in Texarkana, so we'll see how that dynamic plays out. But Longview Texas High should be a good one. 7:30 Friday from Texarkana. Well, this game's lost a little bit of luster, wouldn't you say? Kilgore Carthage, just a few months ago, they were playing for the state championship at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. The 3A Division I state title game was up for grabs. 2 East Texas teams, 2 Red teams, 2 Bulldogs going at it. And we figured, this is our number 1 game of the year preseason. We counted down the top 25 games of 2014, and this was number 1 for good reason. A state championship rematch. You don't often get that. No. But lo and behold, UIL put these 2 teams in the same district this year, and you talk about 2 teams kind of going in the opposite direction. Kilgore got the win last week in their district opener against Palestine. Carthage continues to struggle, loses by 22 against Henderson in their district opener last week. You've done a little research on this game. Is there anything Carthage can hang their hat on going into this one?
I think that they've got the basis for a good defensive front, which will be good when you're dealing with Kilgore's 2 running backs and a pretty powerful offense all around. I think that this game's going to have a lot of emotion in it, obviously.
Yes.
Because, you've got the carryovers on one side trying to prove that they were worthy of the state championship. And on the other side, you've got just a handful of guys who want to show that Carthage football is still where it's been. And I think that when you look at these two teams, that you see a lot of emotion coming into it. And I think that actually favors Carthage. Because,
and they're at home.
Yeah. I think that the team that keeps a cooler head can get a leg up. I think that there might be some talking and some personal fouls in this game.
Oh, no doubt.
So I think that if Carthage can keep a calm head, they can stay in this game. They can compete.
I haven't seen Carthage yet this year, but the feeling I get about them is that they're not really having problems moving the ball. It's just having key turnovers, key penalties, and bad stretches. I mean, you saw their game a few weeks ago against Gilmer, where turnovers just took them out of it right from the get-go.
In the first quarter, and they trailed 28 to nothing at the end of the first quarter.
And against good teams like Gilmer, I mean, you can't afford to be playing, catch up the entire time. So a good start would be nice for Carthage. Kilgore, on the other hand, their defense is starting to play up to their standards, I believe. The first few weeks of the season, people were starting to wonder about that a little bit. They gave up 51 to a Flower Bluff team from Corpus Christi who is undefeated right now. I mean, they're ranked in the top 10 in 5A, so, I mean, there's no shame in losing. But the defense was hit hard early in the season. I think a lot of that had to do with some of the new faces on that defensive side of the ball for Kilgore. But it seems like they've gotten a lot of that cleaned up. Allowed just 6 points to Palestine last week. Have had some good defensive performances of late, and it's going to come down to I imagine is Carthage's defense against Kilgore's defense up against Carthage's offense, because I think at this point Carthage is better offensively than they are defensively. It's just a matter of turning the ball over and maintaining possession. So this will be key. Again, Kilgore-Carthage rematch of the state championship game, 7:30 Friday night from Bulldog Stadium in Carthage.
Just another note on Carthage. No favors by putting Kilgore in that district in the way they were aligned. There are some beatable teams. I think Carthage will probably make the playoffs down the stretch, but starting off with Henderson and Kilgore,
not any favors.
Very tough. Yeah, there's not a lot of room to build some confidence heading into this game.
But the good news for Carthage is once they get past this, they have Palestine, they have Brownsboro, two teams that really, really down this year, and an opportunity for Carthage to get back on track after this week, if not this week. Kilgore. Obviously, these two teams come in. Kilgore's 2-4, Carthage is 1-5. So obviously, they're not the same two teams they were last year. So you give a slight edge to Kilgore just because they played better throughout the season. But you don't count out Carthage. I mean, they have one of the best coaches around. They have good players. I mean, that's a misconception. Everybody thinks that they graduated all their good players. They don't have anybody left. That's not true. They still have good players. Jared Blissett's a good quarterback. They have some good receivers.
Keldrick Jackson.
400
receiving yards.
Yeah, and then on defense, you got James Marshall and Jared McClin. They've got players, so it's not out of the ordinary for Carthage to come out on top on this one. But it'll definitely be interesting to see. Carthage Kilgore once again kicks off Friday night from Carthage.
And now it's the ETSN Dairy Queen Game of the Week.
All right, Game of the Week time, and man, this is a great matchup. Gladewater and Atlanta, and both teams are ranked in the top 10 in the state in Class 4A. Gladewater comes in at number 10. Atlanta is number 9. Gladewater's 5-1. The only loss was to an out-of-state team, St. Thomas More from Lafayette, Louisiana. Atlanta's 6-0, and they've just been laying waste to everybody they've played. Both teams got off to tremendous starts last week in district. Gladewater, how about 52-8 over Tatum?
Yeah.
We both kind of thought that they would win, but I don't know that we saw, a 44-point beatdown the way Gladewater was able to win that game. And then Atlanta last week, 48-7 over Pleasant Grove, which came in at 4-1. So both quality wins, both good performances. Atlanta and Gladewater should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Impressive wins last week with the ceiling so high on their opponents, what they can be. You look at Gladewater, just a really well-rounded team, no weaknesses whatsoever when you see them play live, and that's exciting. You can start thinking about big things, but Atlanta coming in and they're a scary team. So
they got a lot of good playmakers. You got a lot of good pieces on offense. You talk about their quarterback Chase Musgrove. He's a dual threat kid, really good baseball player too. His future may end up being in baseball before it's all said and done. But he's equally adept at running as he is at passing. They've got some good skill kids like Daquan Allen, the running back, Edric King, Jeremy Smith. They've got a lot of weapons on offense, and it shows through the first 6 games of the season. They're averaging well over 40 points a game. Haven't really been in that many close games this year, so it'll be interesting to see if this one's tight down the stretch, how Atlanta will respond. Gladewater's been in a couple of tight games so far this year, so they may have an edge when it comes to tightly contested games. So, but I really think Gladewater's defense. This is another challenge for them, and they've passed for the most part everything they've come across so far this season, and it all starts up front with Dalen Mack and. Our colleague Chase Colston was covering their game against Tatum last week, and he came away just impressed with Dalen Mack. I mean, I think he had seen him once or twice before, but it may have been a couple of years ago. And
if I remember right, he said he was the second best player he'd ever seen in East Texas.
And I kind of echo that sentiment. He's probably the second best high school football player that I've covered, and I've been doing this since 2002. And the only other one that would rank ahead of Dalen Mack is Adrian Peterson, and we've all seen what he was able to do in both college and the pro ranks. But Dalen Mack is just as dominant on the defensive end. Chase was telling us last week in the game that he blew up both players on the read option. Like he took out the running back and the quarterback. So that's a pretty effective defense against one of those offenses that can be tricky to defend.
Nothing Dalen Mack does surprises me, and he's a good runner too. Especially once he gets accelerated, you see people dive at his knees and him just kind of take him out as he goes.
Atlanta found out that the hard way last year in the playoffs. They met in the second round of the playoffs, and Gladewater's Dalen Mack catches a screen pass, I believe, out of the backfield and rumbles 60 yards to set up a touchdown late in that game. Yeah, and these two teams are familiar with one another. They met twice last year. They met the year before. So this is the 4th time they've met in the last 3 years. They're quite familiar with one another. It was a 1-point game in the playoffs last year. Gladewater coming out on top, I believe, 34-33. So, there's a lot of motivation on Atlanta's side coming into this game for sure. Not only is likely the district title up for grabs in 6-4 AD2, but Atlanta still remembers how they were knocked out of the playoffs last year and who was responsible for that. So it should be a lot of fun. Gladewater and Atlanta kickoff 7:30 Friday, Rabbit Stadium in Atlanta. Should be a lot of fun. All right, before we get out of here, let's have a shout-out to our players of the week. First on offense, Marcus Dowell, the running back from Malakoff. Huge night last week against Palestine Westwood. 17 carries, 215 yards, 5 touchdowns. So 5 of his 17 carries resulted in trips to the end zone for Mr. Dowell. So congratulations to Marcus Dowell, our ETSN.fm Dairy Queen Offensive Player of the Week.
Then the ETSN.fm and Dairy Queen Defensive Player of the Week is Tyler Grace's Johnny Spitzer, who put in an all-around complete game. We awarded him for his defensive performance, which was 2 interceptions, which allowed the Cougars to preserve what was at that point a 27-14 lead over Brook Hill, and important because Brook Hill could have exploded in any moment with Grant Hanks at the quarterback and a couple of good receivers, and then Gabe Lucio at running back. But Spitzer took away 2 opportunities. They converted on one and really started to control the game after that en route to a 55-14 win. So congratulations to Johnny. Great job. And congratulations on the offensive touchdown in that game, which didn't count toward Defensive Player of the Week.
Didn't hurt, but didn't count either. But so like Mike said, congratulations to Johnny, congratulations to Marcus, our offensive and defensive players of the week. Before we get on out of here, we want to remind you folks that our stat leaders are updated. They're online at ETSN.fm. Mike's been working hours upon hours over the last few days to get those posted.
It was a 13-hour day yesterday. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, but we're used to it by now. It's football season. 13-hour days are the norm around here. So check those out if you get the time. Also, the standings are updated. They're usually updated every Saturday or Sunday following the Friday football schedule. So if you want to check out how your teams are doing or how the rest of your team's district is stacking up, be sure to check that out as well. We have some previews up on our website already for some of the big games going on this week. And if you have any questions or comments for either one of us, you can always find us on Twitter. I'm at Clint Buckley, and Mike Graham, you are?
I'm at Mike_ETSN.
So there you go, folks. Well, until we talk again next week, y'all have a great weekend watching some high school football, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Here I go!